As Kim said, I've been teaching the online meta meditation course with Dhamma for the last 3 years. And so I'm very gladly here to be able to talk some about TWIM, and about what I really want to talk about today is about how the Buddha talked about meditation. Because I think that sometimes we don't really understand or get that. I started meditating about 25 years ago, in 1995, and over the next 20 years, I studied with a number of different teachers and a lot of different practices. And my teachers were great, inspiring, really wonderful teachers, but somehow they never could tell me how to get there. And that seemed like the critical piece that was missing from all of this, was that they could tell me, they could talk about the goal, but they couldn't really tell me how to get there. And the meditations that they taught didn't really get me there. So it wasn't until in 2015, I started to study with Bhante Vimalaramsi at Dhamma, and suddenly there was a huge difference. And which was phenomenal. It changed my life. So I really started being interested in what the Buddha actually had to say about how to meditate, because as it turned out, all of these wonderful teachers taught meditation, but didn't talk meditation from the perspective of what the Buddha taught. So I think to start, what I'd like to do is just read a very short piece about the Buddha's teaching. This is a piece that comes from the Mahavagga, which is in the Vinaya, and the Vinaya is one of the 3 pieces of the Pali Canon. The Mahavagga is one of the most detailed descriptions of what happened after the Buddha's awakening. So it talks about, it has a long description of what happened over the next 7 weeks, and then him deciding that he was going to teach, and then trying to figure out who he was going to go to first. And he intended to go to his first teachers, both of whom had died very recently before this. And then he decided to go to teach the 5 ascetics that he had practiced with for like 5 years. And so this is, they were initially not very excited about learning from him. They thought that he had given up asceticism and fallen back into indulgence. And he finally convinced them that something had really changed and he had something to tell them. And this was the first, this was the first turning, the turning of the wheel of the Dhamma. This was the first teaching that he gave them. He said, and the Mahavagga says, the fortunate ones addressed the group of 5 monks, saying, there are 2 extremist monks that one who has gone forth should not associate with. First is devotion and clinging to the pleasure in sense pleasures. That's so indulgence, which is low, vulgar, worldly, and ignoble, and not connected with the goal. And second, devotion to self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble, and not connected with the goal either. Not having approached either of these 2 extremes monks, I've been awakened to the middle way, which produces vision, produces knowledge, and leads to peace, deep knowledge, complete awakening, and emancipation. And what is this middle way, monks? It is the Eightfold Noble Path, as follows: right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is the middle way, monks, which produces vision, produces knowledge, and leads to peace, deep knowledge, complete awakening, and emancipation. So in this piece, basically what it's saying is that the Eightfold Path is not just part of the 4 Noble Truths and the way leading to the end of suffering. It really is, the Eightfold Path itself is the middle way. It's the basic components of the middle way. And I feel like that's really important to understand. The Buddha, meditation for the Buddha, finding the right meditation for the Buddha was really the key to his awakening. And he had been studying for a long time, he'd been practicing, but it wasn't until he found the right meditation that suddenly things opened up for him and he started to see the world in a different way and he reached full awakening. So it would have been really important for him to explain to people, to teach people what's the right way to meditate. What I want to say about this passage from the Mahavagga is that in that passage, he told everyone, this is the way to awakening. And so given how important meditation would have been, it's really important. I think that we have to look at the Eightfold Path to understand what he was saying about meditation in the Eightfold Path. The last three components of the Eightfold Path, which are right concentration, right mindfulness, and right effort, are commonly talked about as this is the mental discipline factors of the Eightfold Path. This is, but no one ever talks about the fact that that's actually the instructions for the meditation. Those three things in and of themselves are the basic instructions for the meditation. Right concentration, it's important to know what we're talking about when we say those things. Right concentration means that you have an object of meditation and you put your attention on that object of meditation and try to stay with it for as long as you can without any distractions. Okay, so that's what right concentration is talking about. Right mindfulness means that Bhante Vimalaramsi's definition is you remember to observe how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. So from your object of meditation to the distraction. Right mindfulness is really about seeing what mind is doing, because it's mind that is where your suffering happens. And so you want to start looking at and observing how mind's attention moves from something that's positive, your object of meditation, to something that's not positive, to something that's unwholesome, another thought as it comes up. And you want to see how that process works. So that's what right mindfulness is about. And right effort is the third component of this. When mind moves to something that's unwholesome, what do you do? And what you do is right effort. Now, the way the Buddha described the right effort was that it was always pretty much the same. The first thing you do is you abandon unwholesome mind states that have arisen. The second thing you do is to keep unarisen unwholesome mind states from arising. The third thing you do is that you promote wholesome mind states that haven't yet arisen. And the fourth thing you do is that you sustain wholesome mind states that have arisen. Okay, that sounds really good, but then how do you actually do that is, of course, the question. This is where Bhante Vimalaramsi came in, because he created a practical way to put right effort into practice. And that's called the 6 R's. So the 6 R's are to recognize that your mind has moved from your object of meditation, from right concentration, to a distraction, okay? And when you recognize that that happens, the first thing that you do is you release it. You release your attention on that distraction. I think of this a little bit like, when you go to the movies, you see, and suddenly there's like a really scary scene or a really violent scene, what do? You don't push it away, but you lessen the intensity of it by closing your eyes or looking the other way. You don't run out of the theater. You just lessen the intensity, although you might actually, but you lessen the intensity of it by like you close your eyes or you look the other way so that that intensity of that scene suddenly calms down some. That's what the release factor is all about. And that's how you abandon unwholesome mind states that have arisen. Okay? Then you relax. Now, if you try to do this, when you relax, you'll find that if you completely relax your body and you're focused on completely being relaxed, it's really hard to bring up any other thoughts, to be honest with you. And so by relaxing, you are keeping unwholesome mind states from arising. So that covers the second thing. The third thing is that you want to promote wholesome mind states. And the way that you do that is by you re-smile, because smiling is a wholesome thing to do. It uplifts our minds, and it's not sensually based. It's just like a nice thing to do, to like smile. It makes us feel good, makes other people feel good. It's a great thing. And then finally, you come back to your object of meditation, which is sustaining wholesome mind states that have already arisen. So you come back to your object of meditation, and you just repeat, and then you repeat that process over and over again, so that that you maintain your wholesome mind state, maintain the positive mind states that you've established. So that's the whole of the 6 R's. The 6 R's are just practical application of right effort. But if you look at that, what happens is that you start with an object of meditation, right? And you stay with it as well as you can, but your mind is going to do what your mind is going to do. One of the things the Buddha discovered in meditation was that mind just does its own thing. You can't force it not to bring stuff up. And when stuff comes up, you can't force it away. You can push it down and it'll stay down temporarily. But as soon as you come out of meditation, all that stuff just comes up again. So you can't force it, but you can, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. Anyway, yes, that you want to stay with your object of meditation for as long as you can, but you do it mindfully, watching what mind is actually doing. Is it bringing something else up? What's happening? Is it identifying with that? What's happening? You don't want to get into the content of what it is, because the content doesn't really matter. It's your mind making up a story about whatever's going on based on what's happened in the past in your life. But what you want to notice is what mind is doing. And by practicing the 6 R's, once you've realized that the mind has been distracted, if you practice 6 R's, then you don't suppress the distraction. You just let it be there without giving it any energy, without giving it any attention. And what happens then is pretty soon the mind says, oh, well, this isn't doing any good. I'll have to try something else. But that distraction goes away. Not necessarily right away, but eventually that's what happens. And then the 6 R's bring you right back to right concentration, to looking at your object of meditation for as long as you can without distraction. So those 3 factors of the Eightfold Path are the basic meditation instructions. It's very simple. Stay with your object, do it mindfully, and when your mind moves, practice right effort, which will bring you right back to staying with your object. So it's an interesting thing, because I've read lots of books over the years and whatever, and no one ever says this. They never point to the Eightfold Path as the beginning of understanding how to do meditation. But right there in the Eightfold Path, in the very first teaching that the Buddha did, he told people exactly what they needed to do in order to meditate. He then gave different people different objects of meditation. So when you look at the Satipatthana Sutta, for example, or the Anapanasati Sutta, Satipatthana in particular, it talks about mindfulness of breathing, and he talks specifically about how to do that. But then it goes on to talk about a lot of other objects of meditation. And because the Buddha had psychic powers, he was able to look at someone and tell what would be a good object of meditation for them. Unfortunately, we don't have that. I certainly don't have that. So, you don't have to know all the different objects of meditation. The basic instructions are right there. He built them right into the middle way, the Eightfold Path, and the way to the end of suffering. So no matter what your object of meditation is, if you remember to do those things, that's going to be what works on moving you forward in your progress on the path. So I think I'll leave it there, and see if anybody has questions or would like to talk. Oh, sorry, I just bounced myself out. Hit the wrong thing.
It's okay. So we can take a few questions. Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, when you're tired and you try to do meditation, or when you have pains, it's actually recommended to meditate, but I haven't been able to do the metta when I was down. And I wonder, how long do you have to do metta in order to get you through the down phase, when you're not in a balanced, like when you're more tired, when you're exhausted from work? I usually try to do it in the morning and in the evening. Like I've been on retreat with it in September, and that I'm still practicing the 6 hours every day, every morning, every evening. But sometimes when the pressure at work is very high, I feel that the result of meditation is not the same, or I can't do a sitting.
I think that's true for for all of us, especially when you're starting out. Especially if you're really tired, it's very hard. It's hard to meditate when you're really tired, because you really relax, and then you have a tendency to fall asleep. So I think it's important that make sure that you get enough rest, for one thing. And then secondly, I think it's really helpful if you can work on practicing the 6 R's in the course of your daily life. When you find things come up in your daily life, practice the 6 R's. Let go of whatever the negative feelings that you have are. I think with pain, sometimes you just have to practice the 6 R's and do the best that you can. Sometimes it's meditation pain, and it's just your mind bringing things up to get in the way. Other times it's something that's physically that's happening. And but the 6 R's are not necessarily going to take them away. What you need to understand is that when you release them, you release your attention on, and so you may still have some pain, but if you can release the attention on them, you can just let them be there without putting your attention on the pain, that will alleviate a lot of the suffering that's involved in that pain. Because the suffering is what you bring to it. It's a story that you take, that your mind takes you and says, oh, this is so painful. Oh, I can't stand this. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh my gosh, this has to go away. And sometimes it'll go away, and sometimes it's not going to go away. What you have to do is do that thing where you look the other way or close your eyes to what it is. Just let it be there. That is what's happening right now. And you need to just you have to let it be there. But if you can not identify with it and not personalize it, then it's going to be a lot less problematic in your meditation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Teri,
Yes.
thank you so much for the how. I've been spending years trying to sit in meditation, and I sit, but no one ever explained, because that's what my mind does, is I sit, try to focus on breath, and the mind starts entertaining me, and the mind starts telling me things, and I said, why am I thinking that? So I'm realizing that it's normal that your brain goes somewhere else automatically, and then it's my job to bring it back. And what I don't know is how, because my mind goes off often, because I'm in my head a lot, that how to bring it back to the subject that you were saying, the right concentration of the object. It goes off. How do I bring it back? Like you said, release, but it goes off often. Is there a strategy on how to release and say, let it go, that's not right now? I don't know how to do that because it's consistent, and it's just kind of really frustrating.
Yes. You know, when people first start doing meditation, TWIM particularly, because with TWIM, once your mind has feels like it's got distracted, you want to completely let go of your object of meditation. You don't want to hold on to it at all. Just let it go and shift instead to doing the 6 R's. Okay. The thing is, the 6 R's is what doing this whole process of right concentration, right mindfulness, and right effort, and 6 R's are right effort. That process will begin to change the way your mind works. It's really important to understand you can't make your mind stop because you're not in control with it. We all think that this is my mind, I'm in control, you know, this is who I am, but that's not the case. Your mind is an impersonal process. That's what the Buddha said. He said, your mind is an impersonal process. It is just happening, and you are not in control of it. So you can't make it stop. And when people start doing meditation, especially TWIM, but any meditation, I think you start doing meditation and the distractions just come up, I mean, over and over and over again, every 15 seconds, every 30 seconds. I mean, it's just constant,
yes.
constant,
yes.
constant.
Yes.
What happens though, when you do TWIM, is that the meditation itself, if you follow those instructions to stay with your object, watch mind moving, when mind moves, do the 6 R's, what happens is, because you're not pushing the distraction away, you're just like stopping giving it any energy, any attention. The distractions start to fade away. And in a pretty short time, you find that actually less and less distractions are coming up. Okay.
Okay.
And, yeah, less and less distractions are coming up, and you have more and more time when you're just able to stay with your object of meditation.
Okay.
So the key is to do the meditation following those instructions. You don't have to even try hard. You just have to follow the instructions. Because if you try hard, then you're like, oh, I really want this to change, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
When you try hard like that, what happens is that's got craving in it. I want this. And craving is just going to get in your way. That craving is going to get in your way. So what you do is you set all that aside and you just follow the basic instructions. Stay with your object of meditation, whatever that is. And with TWIM, we usually use metta, not always. With TWIM, you stay with your object of meditation, but you do it mindfully so that you're watching what mind is doing when it moves off of your object of meditation. And it's interesting, at the beginning, I mean, you're 1 minute you're on your object of meditation, and the next minute you're looking at the vacation that you did when you were 6 years old. And you know, who knows where that comes from? It just like pops up into your head. But as you do this, mind starts to quiet down, and eventually you start being able to almost see the thought as it's starting. And that's what happens with this meditation. That's how this changes things, and that's why this works, and that's how you do it.
Your acronym TWIM, TWIM.
Oh,
go ahead.
Tranquil
wisdom
insight
meditation. Yes, tranquil wisdom insight meditation. Yes.
Tranquil
wisdom insight meditation. Yeah, and Dhammasukham.org, DHAMMASUKHA.org, offers online retreats, TWIM retreats. They last for 9 days, where you learn how to do this and have support. Every day you send a report in that says this is how it's going, and the teacher sends back comments and suggestions for how to fix whatever's going on if there's a problem, so that you get immediate feedback and a way to change what you're doing in order to be more effective. So it's really about, one of the things that's been really frustrating with me for so long was that people couldn't tell you how to do it. But with TWIM, Bhante Vimalaramsi went to the suttas, he figured it out, and he can teach you how to do this, how to change the way that your mind literally works.
Wow. Teri, thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking that question. I appreciate it. Fantastic.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Hi, Teri.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your lovely teaching. I really appreciate that. I was started with David doing that, and now my mind, when I sit for the meditation, I feel so much quiet, very quiet. Can I get that quiet mind as an objective meditation without going through all the steps? Can I start with the quiet mind as objective meditation without going through all the other stuff?
It depends. If you're doing a retreat, and so you're spending most of your day sitting and walking, doing sitting meditation and walking meditation, sitting meditation, walking meditation, you can pretty much start you're pretty much there most of the day. So it's really easy to just drop back in at when you sit down again, or when you go walking again. I usually recommend that if you're just meditating once or twice a day, that you actually take a couple minutes. It doesn't have, Bhante talks about 5 minutes. I think probably a 2 minutes even is fine. But where you radiate metta to the direction, to each individual direction, in order to build the metta up, and then you start radiating everywhere, to all beings everywhere. and that you pay attention to going through the process that you're going through. So from metta to compassion to joy to equanimity to still mind. And the reason is that if you just jump into still mind, you're probably going to have more distractions. If you don't find that's true, then it's okay. You don't need to do this. But for most people, what they find is that when you just sit down and try to go into still mind, and for those of you who haven't done TWIM meditation before, this is a detail about TWIM meditation as you get more advanced in the meditation. So you're not going to understand it right now. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, your name is?
Sandini.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Sandini.
Sandini. When you get to it's a little bit like riding a bike. You know how if you're riding a bicycle, have you ever ridden bicycle?
Yeah.
If you're riding a bicycle and you've got, like a 10-speed bike, and you get to the fourth gear, but you just want to go all the way to the top. So you jump from the fourth gear to the eighth gear. And what happens is suddenly you don't have any power, and it takes a little bit to get things working right. But if you go from the fourth gear to the fifth gear to the sixth gear to the seventh gear to the eighth gear, by the time you get to the eighth gear, everything is running really smoothly. And it's kind of like that with the meditation. The jhanas are really levels of mental development. And so you want to go through each step in order to get to the next step, instead of jumping 3 or 4 steps. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because when you jump, what happens is your mind doesn't settle well. And that's why you have a lot more distractions. Okay. So if you just take a few minutes and go through when you get to still mind, your mind's going to probably be much quieter.
Then you want me to starting with with the spiritual friend, or you want me to just?
No, not the spiritual friend. You start with metta. You don't have to do metta to yourself. You just do metta to each one of the directions. I actually start metta below all beings below me, because that way I just get I feel like it just runs right through my body. So it's like kind of nice. Yeah. It's kind of a nice way to start. Anyway, then metta to each of the directions.
Okay.
And metta everywhere. And even sometimes before you even get to metta everywhere, you're already starting to feel compassion arising, and then joy arising. Sometimes you don't even get all the way through the directions before you get to still mind. And that's okay, but it's good to go through each step so that your mind settles.
Yeah. I feel when I start with the directions, already I am in all directions. And then I'm following that.
Okay. Well, just see how it works for you. You can slow it down if you feel like when you get to still mind, it's not quiet. If you've got a lot of distractions, then you want to try to slow it down.
Okay. Thank you, Teri. Thank you so much.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I would have another question if that's fine.
That's fine.
So, yeah, thank you so much for your teachings. I have a little bit of experience to practice meditation and metta meditation, but I was wondering after your teachings, what kind of maybe some literature or something you would recommend to just deepen the understanding, even if it can't, it's all about the practice in the end, but to just understand why and where this is coming from. Because as you were speaking, I have to admit that with some things I was like, oh wow, I don't know about that, and so I'm just curious and interested to maybe read a little bit more, or to just understand more where this is coming from and the philosophy behind it, or not philosophy, but the thoughts behind it. So maybe you could give some recommendations.
This is what I honestly would say about that. And you can read some Bhante Vimalaramsi's books. He has a book called Meditation is Life, Life is Meditation. And it's called Life is Meditation, Meditation is Life. And you can read that, and that tells some of his story about how he practiced meditation for a long time. He then became a monk. He went to Asia. He started when he was in his 40s being a monk, which is really hard because basically when you start being a monk, anybody that's been a monk for a day longer than you are is senior to you. So he was senior to all these 12-year-olds and stuff. I mean, he was junior to all these 12-year-olds who had started before him. Anyway, he practiced there for 10 years. And then his teacher said, okay, you're ready, go, you've got it. And he said, but wait a minute, that's not, the Buddha said there would be changes in me when I reached awakening. And he said, I don't feel that. So he talked to lots of people, and he went off and he took the one of the people he talked to said, go back to the suttas, because in Asia, what happens is that they use a different basic text. It's called the Visuddhimagga, and it's a book that was written kind of accumulating a lot of commentary on the suttas, trying to explain them for people later on. Anyway, he went back to the suttas themselves, the basic teachings, so the best that we have of what the Buddha taught. And he spent 3 months studying the suttas and just meditating. And this is what, and he came up with tranquil wisdom, insight, meditation. That's what happened. Okay. And from reading the suttas, because he found that what was in the suttas and what most people were teaching, which is based in the Visuddhimagga, were very, very different. So, excuse me. So the thing about giving you books to read, it's a little bit hard, and partly because the Buddha himself, he studied a lot. He did a lot of practice before his awakening, and it didn't help until he figured out the right way to meditate. And it was in the meditation itself that he came to understand all of what he then later was teaching. It wasn't like he created this theory and then the meditation confirmed it. It was in the meditation himself, he started to see things like, you're not in control of your mind. That's the bottom line. All this stuff comes up in your mind, you can't make it go away, and you can't, we can bring up some things that we want to be bringing up and stuff, but for the most part, stuff just pops into your head all the time. You're not in control of that, all that stuff coming up. So that he learned that in the meditation. So I hear what you're saying about not really understanding some of what I've said, but I think that rather than telling you to go and read, what I would recommend that you do is that you go and meditate, but that you go and learn to meditate using TWIM. Because I think that in the process of meditating, you will start to understand what the Buddha was teaching. That's how he learned himself. And I think that's the best way for you to learn as well. So I would suggest that you go online and if you want to learn it, the online retreat program is really incredible, and you can do a retreat that for some people it's best if you can take time off from work and be able to really put your attention to it. But even to be able, if you have to be working, people do oftentimes work and stuff. It takes 4 or 5 hours a day to do everything by the end of the retreat. So you got to really dedicate yourself to it. But it will change the way you think, and it'll change your life. That's what I would recommend.
And I put up my email, and then Sylvie put up the YouTube channel for Dhamma Sukha as well. So any of you wants more information or or, the programs, or, what we are doing, just email me. I'll give you the information. So we're trying to build a community, twin community here. And our group going to be meditating all together every week, same time, and trying to get a different teachers coming up and, talking to us, teaching us. I'm pretty sure Teri will be back.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hi.
so much. Yeah, like.
So, can I just ask the last question?
Definitely, Helen. Yeah, she's yeah. Definitely.
Hi, Terry. I'm Helen. I'm new to the train meditation, but I have personally find it very very useful. And thank you very much for your elaboration on the right effort, which I was like trying to see myself and life experience how it works. And I totally understand the sitting down and the practice of quiet down the mind is necessary. But I often find I was also watching myself in my daily activities, and I see as we are still in the household life. So most of the time, I would be more like engaged in daily work activities and work as well. Like I'm still working part-time. How do we make use of the 6 hours more in the life? I mean, I still find it like I'm not smiling in work that much. And that seriousness comes on right away, because I think maybe of the practice. I mean, of years of work and interaction with people. So can you reflect a little bit more on that? Because I find the 6 hours is I understand, and after your expression of like how it tied in with the last 3 factors of the Eightfold path, I truly believe, and I find it. I realize in certain points of like my my own practice that it is very very integrated and coherent with real experience. So it's very useful for me, and I'm very glad that I actually find Bhante Varamamsi on YouTube. I haven't been able to have a chance to visit the center. It was just in the last 3 months, 4 months that I've been following, and I'm very lucky to get into the group of Kim, which now allows every week's practice. I know my sitting is not enough, but I want to know a little bit more about every day. Like if you can comment or reflect a bit more on the activities in the 6 hours yeah. Thank you.
What a great question that is, Helen. Because I think that the bottom line is that's what really is important. We call our sitting practice, and we think of it as more of a thing. But the reality is, I think of sitting more as practice, like as if you were playing scales on the piano. You play scales, you play scales on the piano over and over again to get your fingers used to doing what they're supposed to be doing to play the piano, right? And you sit, because sitting, when you sit, you're in kind of a bubble. You're in kind of a controlled environment, so that you can do these things without, in a much easier way. But the reality is, you're really just preparing yourself to be able to be that same way in the world. Right. And that's what you're talking about. We want to be in the world in the same way that we are when we're sitting, right?
Yes.
So your question is absolutely central to what we're doing here. We're trying to understand how to be in the world in that way, without identifying and personalizing everything so much. So the thing is, one of the things about walking meditation, and why walking meditation is so important, is because it begins to help you to integrate the practice of that you're learning in sitting into your daily life. You're radiating metta as you're walking. You're not getting so interactive with the things that are going on around you. you kind of keep your eyes down so that you don't run into things, but that you're not like sightseeing, in order to begin to have help you to integrate that sending of metta all the time in your life, while you're doing something more active in the world. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to start doing that increasingly. Do it while you're washing the dishes. Do it while you're vacuuming. Do it while you're emptying the trash or mowing the lawn. It doesn't, any of those, you know, in your daily life, there's a lot of things. Not driving. I never recommend that you do it while you're driving, because you need to put your attention on driving. But for the most part, most of the things that we do don't require 100% of our intention, of our attention. We're constantly thinking about something else anyway. So instead, start to use metta and watching your mind while you're doing those activities, and that will help you to integrate into your daily life, the meditation into your daily life, so that that meditation really is life, and life is meditation. And then when you get into a situation where you feel like something unwholesome has come up, you feel angry, you feel anxious, you feel
disagree.
Pardon me?
Disagreeing.
Yes, disagreeing. Practice the 6 R's. Release. Just kind of like not push it away, but just kind of don't give it so much attention. Okay, start by releasing it, and then just let go, relax, and smile. Smiling itself is an amazing tool that will change your life, because they've done actually scientific studies that show when you smile, it lightens, it changes the way your mind works. So smiling just makes you lighter, and it clears your mind too, because it's much harder to be angry or disagreeing or whatever. But it lets you take a step back in terms of reacting, so that instead of just reacting, you take a step back and you're able to kind of see what's going on and then respond in a more effective way. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes, certainly. I think walking would certainly be the next step to be for me, like or like in household works. Yeah, that's a good hint and good next step that take me back to the real life. Yeah, which I do often be like trying to be very mindful of what my personal feelings is. But I think the washing and cleaning and that thing is a good hint to to see myself how it works, and walking. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate so much your talk today. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And for the group and everybody here. Thank you.
So I think it's like we are a little bit past over time, but it's okay. If you are okay, I'm okay. And I'm enjoying doing this all the time. And I just wanted to thank you so much, Teri, for doing this for us. You know, I always learn something new from you. So thanks a lot. And hopefully you can come back some other times as well. And yeah, like I put my email up, like for new that who's joining today, like can email me. I can try to put you in anything that what we are doing. Okay. So if we don't have any more questions, then let's share a quick merit and we go. So 1 second.
Teri.
Yeah. Give me a few seconds, please, to bring my merit up.
Thank you so much, Teri.
You're welcome. I'm very happy. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank you
it's been
so much,
helpful.
Teri. I'm very new, Teri, but I really enjoyed it and it's really useful. Thank you so much. I hope to be able to practice the way you've said it.
Good.
Thank you.
Teri, thanks for being.
I'll come back to you if I have any difficulty. Okay? Is that okay? Is that okay with you?
I'm sorry, you what?
I said I'll come back to you if I have any difficulty. Is that okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
We are here to support each other.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you.
Definitely. Teri, understanding the how today, because I'm always about the how, the why. That was very, very supportive, very useful, and I took notes on the 6 R's. So thank you very much for being
You can
here.
go online and there's a little book called The Guide to TWIM that you can just download it. Or you can even download, there's an audio version that you can download.
Oh, yeah.
On the Dhammasukha website, and it goes through all the instructions about how to do the meditation.
And I like that people have shared on chat these links, and it's so fantastic. And thank you. I've learned so much today. Thanks so much.
Good. Glad.
Take care of yourself. Be safe.
Thank you, Teri. So I'm going to stop record and then let's share Mary.